This is Dirshu Mishnah Brura. We're middle of Simin Reish Mem Dalid. We're middle of Sif Aleph. We are halfway through this Sif. We're really up to Sif Katan Ches in the Mishnah Brura, in which he comments on the Machaber that says, "Medina b'toichat chom," that anytime something is within the Medina or b'toichat chom, there's a problem. Laniach, to allow the guy to work with it on Shabbos because of the Royim that are going to think. This is the Maris Ayin. So we begin, before we even see that Mishnah Brura, excuse me. And then the Ramah came along, and the Ramah said, "Afilim dar b'nei Yehudim." Let's say you live amongst Goyim. So what's the Maris Ayin? No. You have to be chayshish yishach archim abayim shama lebnei beisai. She actually do oisai, and that really brings out how far this Maris Ayin goes. So says the Mishnah Berurah Sivkot el Ches Medina. Hayna b'toich chayir shekayim Medina lebamim hatchum shekil achayir lebamim leilach. People sometimes go there. If you're within the Tchum Shabbos, that means you're able to go there. Laniach Sivkot and Yod. Iser v'sever chasidim simin shin mem chas. Ma'isa b'adam echad shesachar ein Yehudi live nos b'isai b'kablanos. You hired a guy to build him a house b'kablanos. Ein Yehudi b'nei b'Shabbos. They were talking about this guy, and he seemingly didn't care. Why did he not care? Because it was kablanos. The land never made it for him or his children. Pretty extreme story of the Sefer Chasidim, bringing out how far one has to be concerned for this halacha. Sivkatin Yud Aleph im dar bin any Yehudim Ratzalaymar. Shudar mechotzat chomeir. V'gami in ir acher zochat chomai. So Mishnah Berurah explains really how far does this case of the Ramah go? You're really out of the Tchum. Afilu achi it's asur. Why? Maybe people are going to travel there and they're going to be suspectful. So why were we priorly mekel? But if he himself lives there, you're that one person who lives out and who knows where, you have to be worried about archim. You're doing the work at the Tchum, and you don't live there. But there's a Jew who lives there. It's also awesome. You have to tell the guy not to work on Shabbos. And that, excuse me, that was really part of the next words of the Mechaber. Let's see those right now. There's no other tchum within that area. Mutter, that's what we just explained. And again, the Mishnah Berurah pointed out, but if there is a yid within the area of where you're working, then it's going to be a problem. The mutter, 1 second. Mutter, yeah, let's see the Mishnah Berurah. Sivkatin Gimel. There's no more Maris Taim. Any Yudi Kit Karach, but the Katarach. V'hine mitach mashin is bar says siviv muchach. To also let's chayni do b'kablanis lafana zivla mechatzer. It comes out that you're not allowed to hire a guy to clean out your garbage. Voice by Shabbos. Why? To metakid a chatzer b'zevu b'chlam lechz b'chobar, because he's fixing your chatzer, says Mishnah Berurah, and that's considered work that is mechobar. That's considered that it is work on the karka. Continues the Mishnah Berurah, v'yesh mekaymais. There are places that are noyiga heter l'sachar lika chazevel merchayiv. They collect the garbage from the street. Avsha oisem by Shabbos. Because I'm going to run the time. And what's the reason? The bishal rabim lekach shada. Aval b'schar yoyim shita da aser. V'achrenim yisigu al taimai. V'daitam din afkamina b'zayin bein ram liyach. That's not the reason. V'gam ho ba'atzmai kasel himself. Even the Magen Avraham himself wrote, to makom shein oigen heter v'chayiv in lahakal. You shouldn't really be making ein sham time. Even if you're going to tell me this reason, says Mishnah Berurah, should not build a shul. You're not allowed to work, says Mishnah Berurah, on sensitivity. You're not allowed to work on a Kodesh holiday. It's a chil Hashem if you work on our holiday. This is like the one heter. And from the one heter, it really brings out how far the chumrah goes. If there's like shas chas v'shalom sheismatel habinim beis knesses legamri, they're not going to build at all. Then then you're allowed to let the guy build with kablanis. Bavachi before sin la kol shu kablanis. And from here you really see the ikar hadin. Be'ikar, if it's kablanus, it's mutter. Then you have all the chshashais. But now the Mishnah Berurah Paskins that if there's a very, very high level tzarich, that what? You're going to lose the whole shul. That would be a case that you'd be able to be makel, to conclude the words of the Mechaber, Yudi Shechlis Sain, Shal Yisrael, Ledayr Sadeu. A guy brings a sheep into the Yid's field, Ledayr Sadeu, like one Sivitaf Kof Lamid Zayin. Tavkov Lamed Zayin Sif Yod Dalid. Before we call it a day, we're going to see a few of the Dirshus. Dirshu note number 7. Where is it? Excuse me. That we have to be worried about the Archim, even though you're outside the Tchum. Even though by the Merchaks we said that if to be based only those that are living there. And we wrote that it's mutal aschal and achri. Why? Because since it's within your house, everyone knows that it's the guy. And we're not worried about the Marasai and that guests are going to come. So why by the Merchatz asks the Dirshu over here, quoting Nelia Rabbah, why by the Merchatz are we now worried about Archim? And by us we are. Says Nelia Rabbah, Shartin Yudzayin points this, with regard to a binyan, Sha'im Nakam Galoi, there's a larger Marasayin. Whereas a Berchatz, which is inside your house, is not as much of a Marasayin, which just brings out that this Marasayin is really a very practical Nikuda. Something you're building a building in front of everyone. You have to be more concerned than your private Chatzir. Mishmur continue, Mitakin a Chatzir is that it's called Melechas B'chaber, it's called removing the garbage. Says the Chayi Adam. What's the reason? Because it's called Baina. However, with regard to one going to bringing dirt into his house, and there is Shabbos, and putting in the corner, it says it's not muksa, and you're allowed to use it for your usages. Says Mishnah Berurah, when you take from the dirt, be careful not to smooth it out, not to make shvayis gumais. And it sounds like even if you take it, then it's not going to be an isser of baina. So why over here, by taking out the garbage, removing the zevel, is the yes baina? The chalakis says the kalkel says Shabbos, the offer is not bottled to the karka habayis, and therefore removing it is not going to be called tikkun the karka. Whereas by the garbage and the tit and the refes, all this stuff is sitting on the ground. That's a form of fixing the ground when you remove the garbage, etc., etc. One more Dirshu over here. Dirshu note number 10 points out that the Achronim were masig, that there's no afkamina b'din rabbim in Yachid. To explain what the Achronim say, he says Dal Yerabba Ad Rabba. By Nisa the Rabbanan, we're more chayshid. The Rabbanan chayshid chashad gam b'shal rabbim mishum shekal b'neim lavar listen the Rabbanan. Very good, it's b'rabbim. But lamaisa, when it comes to an Isra Rabbanan, we have to be more chayshish. Only by daraisas is there Ramah and Yardea that says we're not worried about b'rabbim. But by Rabbanans, we're more worried. The Marsham adds on the shame b'shut marai regarding building a shul. One has to be worried that maybe they're going to say people should be worried they can do an avera. That you're allowed to do averas for mitzvahs. The Magen Avraham that says Ram is mutter says in Yehuda Adarabba. All these surma more chamar yishlach l'chshad when there's more people. Heter shal Ram if you lose the reis kolshkin etir kan. It's only the Rabban will be more makel because when it is be rabim. Now let's say this is a nice case. You live in a city which is Rov Gayim, and they clean out the garbage collection is on Saturdays, on Shabbos. Says Dayan Weiss, in a place where the Noyig Heter, Yeshlamar Aleim Schos, Shegam Mafanim is a Zevel Mechasir Shekolachad Vechrim, they come into your backyard, still it's called Rabbim and there's no Chshad. And even though the Riyah takes taxes for this, so we should say, wait, maybe it's called that you're paying because you pay your taxes. No, it's no less than Kablanas. Why? Because they could, the city could decide whenever they want to do it, and there's no Issa Rabbanan. Excuse me, it's only an Issa Rabbanan, cause Bizanenu is no Shazram Deraisa. So again, we have to be careful that we're not talking about flapish or something like that. And Shar Malachis that the Goyim are doing, we don't really care that they do it, they're doing it for themselves. I mean, they can just come and they can pick up the garbage. The fact that they drive their truck and whatnot is of no consequence to me, and therefore, what they're doing is only a derabanan, and therefore, it says in Mechas Yitzchak, if the city municipality decides on their own, this is what they want to do, there's no Chal Hashem, and you can let them do it. Also, the fact that it's barabim, etc., etc. But the Minchas Yitzchak concludes that even in this type of scenario, erev Shabbos, you should bring it out on erev Shabbos to the street, like the Magen Avram says. Tikkun Rachayiv is not called Shem Yisrael; it's more removed from you, and they should not be coming into your backyard. And finally, we conclude with this heter of Binyan Beis HaKnesses. Says the Dirshu the Tam, the Magen Avram writes, more Binyan Beis HaKnesses, but fixing streets and whatnot is not the same, because you don't have the same level of Sayrich. Sheinim Rashi Lasim Lachva for Hesia. Okay, this is a, you have a Sheikhet. They're going to Sheikhet a Chutzaretz in a Goyish city. There's no Yishuv. Says the Sheikh Levi, there's no Yidin. They're not allowed to do Malachim B'Feresi Yom Tov Sheni Shal Gal. It's like a first cousin. How far we're concerned. Why? Because Hashem, that we know that you're, even though you're keeping one day Yontif, but in America, you're not allowed to do Malacha. Says the Sheikh Levi, even though there's no Yidin there, you still can't do it. Lamais is a famous Risham Zalman about this, but we're not going to get involved in that right now. And finally, one more Dirshu. Note, Sivkatin Yudalid. No, Sivkatin Yudalid and Sif Beis. We'll stop over here. We'll pick it up from Sif Beis in Mirza HaShem.